meanwhile, is on the rise. There is that after this. Well, there's a new poll out that has a lot of people scratching their heads, particularly Republicans who thought that this was a winnable issue for them, the notion that Democrats want to pursue socialism, whatever you want to call it. It seems that 4 in 10 Americans polled by Gallup embrace some form of socialism. Many Republicans shouldn't then be laughing this off because it's a palpable and real issue. Republican strategist John Thomas, Democratic strategist Dave Burstein, and last but not least, Kat Temp. So, Dave, to you first on this notion. When Americans were polled, even though a majority still are against it, it's only 51%, 43% don't have a problem with it. What did you make of that?
Well, look, I think people should be a little bit less alarmed than they might be by this, because I think what these things are really saying, and there have been a number of polls now that have shown this, is that Americans are frustrated with capitalism, that capitalism is not working. I think most people don't actually know what socialism is, so people aren't necessarily saying they want, Swedish-style socialism, as the president likes to say. But the reality is that people are frustrated, and capitalism does need improvements. And even Republicans have said this, too. And so people are looking around, they're looking at their pocketbooks, they're looking at interest rates, they're looking at their dwindling portfolios, and they're saying, can't we be doing better?
What's dwindling?
Well, if you are an average American, worker, your fortunes have not improved at the same rate that people's fortunes have improved if they're in the top 1%.
But they haven't invested as much money in the economy.
But an economy where you can only succeed if you put all your money in the stock market, most people can't afford to take that kind of risk.
Trivializing it. I would say this, though, that the one thing that's very clear is when people are pulled the subject of help me pay for my college education or in my debt or health care for all, those are appealing concepts that a lot of people would embrace. Now, when you get into the details how to pay for them, quite another thing. Right. But should Republicans be aware that in the middle of this booming economy, you do have people who are saying, this is other stuff that I want.
Right. Well, they absolutely should be aware. And the people who have said that they are sympathetic with socialism or with some form of socialism like AOC or like Bernie Sanders have done a good job of kind of branding it as, look at, we're going to give you these things. They don't mention that in order for the government to give anyone anything, they have to take from someone else. And it might be some of the people who support it that they would be taking from. So I think that Republicans need to do a better job of making that more clear, because you come off as being generous if you're a socialist. Really, in my opinion, though, there's nothing generous about wanting to spend someone else's money.
I'm wondering for Republicans, you think about it, because the economy, we can argue whether it's the president's doing or not. I mean, we certainly blame the president if it's a bad economy. Right. So accepting that as it is, and Pennsylvania unemployment at record lows, the Pennsylvania economy booming, and yet in the latest polls, the president is trailing Joe Biden by 11 points in 2 other industrial states that he won, Wisconsin and Michigan. A similar story, though not as big a gap. Something is not connecting then with
Well, I don't think the president has really started the campaign trail. He's going to officially launch his campaign in a few weeks. And
Are you kidding? He talks about this stuff every minute.
But he hasn't hit it in full mode, and the TV ads haven't started to roll, really making a case.
What could explain this dichotomy?
Well, look, I think there is a frustration. But what you see in that Gallup survey, which is more disturbing to me, but also encouraging as just a Republican operative, is that 57% of those surveyed of Democrats support socialism. 57%. That's going to push whoever the Dem nominee is further to the left. And if this race in a general election comes up between socialism and economic freedom, my money's on economic freedom all day.
But if they have that high a percentage of Democrats and more than 43% of just general voters of that opinion and a higher percentage of independents of that opinion, you would have to be worried, right?
Not really, because Quinnipiac also put out a poll today that said 77% of Americans believe that the economy is either good or excellent. So what Trump has to figure out is, how does he take his ballot number and move it closer to people who are feeling better economically and take credit for that? That's his
There is that
challenge.
argument, too, that the economy is doing so well that people can entertain some of these socialism issues because they think we can afford it.
Well, I think that's true. But also, the question of how the economy is doing is different than how the stock market is doing. There are a lot of positive signs for growth.
I could leave the stock market out. I could look at 3.2% growth. I could look at record low unemployment. I could look at strong productivity.
But yet at the same time, there's that's not going to go on forever. November, and there's a lot of concerns about whether
we live in the world we live in, and right now it's a strong economy.
May go to November.
It's a fact that it's a strong economy.
Morgan
That's
Stanley just put out a report this week that if we enter a full-blown trade war, which we're possibly on the path to doing, we'll go pretty quickly into a recession.
Well,
so,
what it should have could have. People have been bemoaning this for 14 months.
One
right?
thing we learned from 2016 is that the president has always had approval ratings that were underwater. He's never really been above 50, but voters can have a certain level of cognitive dissonance. We saw it in 2016. They can vote for somebody even if they're not in love with them if they think it benefits them
it just
and
happened
their
in Australia.
pocketbook.
Right. It just happened in Australia. All right. We'll see. Maybe.
Democrats have done a good job of kind of focusing on the people who are struggling a little bit more, like student debt or people who have health care decisions, especially since Republicans did bungle health care so badly.
It's a big portion of the electorate.
All right. Good day, mates. See what I did there?
Nice. Full circle.
Yeah, well, I tried. All right, we have a lot more coming up, including that briefing just ending for senators who had a chance to hear the justifications for the buildup, the military buildup we've had in the Persian Gulf area. One of those at the meeting, Senator John Barrasso, with me here next. Worried about with China yesterday. They weren't worried about today. The fact that we're easing and postponing some of the restrictions on Huawei so big technology names can still do business and not crater was enough to get the buyers out. More to this. Well, a lot of briefings on Capitol Hill today, one that had to do with trade, another one wrapping up just now in the United States Senate having to do with Iran and the intelligence we have that has justified or apparently justified our beefed up military presence in the region. Senate Foreign Relations Committee member John Barrasso was at that briefing, joins us now. Senator, good to have you.
Thanks, Neil.
I know you can't give away state secrets, nor should you, but were you convinced that the administration's move to beef up our military presence in the region was justified?
Absolutely justified, Neil. The information I saw is credible. It is serious and has been increasing. But remember, Iran has a 40-year history of bad actions against the United States. Death to American is what they chant, and this is just part of that ongoing work by them.
Did you get a sense from the administration, or how far they go with this, what they want to see out of Iran besides the provocative behavior they say that, Iran's exhibited over the last couple of weeks?
Well, certainly they want to deter Iran from doing something stupid. And to do that, we want to show that we have the capacity to attack them if need be, and we have the willingness to do it if we have to, but no one wants to do that. We want them to stop the activities that they've been doing. We know that by the sanctions and the increasing pressure against them, they're feeling the heat. They're feeling the heat in Iran, and they're feeling the heat in terms of the money that they've been giving to the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas. They're not able to do the sort of terrorist activities because the money just isn't there for them anymore.
There have been reports that China is more than happy to get their hands on that Iranian oil. And any concerns about how China might be complicating this?
Well, of course, Iran, as part of its income, is selling oil. Now, we have increased sanctions on that oil, and that's why Iran is feeling the pressure. I know China would love to be involved and get that source of energy. Energy is called the master resource for a reason. But clearly, what the United States has done with sanctions against oil, against their metals, has really impacted their economy and their ability to fund the kind of terror that they're used to funding.
Now, I'm going to be exploring this in a segment later in the show, but I'd love to get your thoughts on Justin Amash, the Michigan Republican congressman who thinks that he has read through the Mueller report, thinks there's impeachable conduct there, and everyone in the party came down on him like a ton of bricks. What do you think of what he said?
Well, he's one man who has his own personal opinion. I have come to a very different opinion from reviewing the documents. Look, no collusion, none. No conspiracy, none. To me, this is over. It's beyond us. If the House of Representatives wants to do what they seem to want to do, which is travel the path to impeachment, let them. There's going to be no appetite for that in the United States Senate.
Do you have any sense, though, as a fellow Republican, obviously you disagree with the congressman, that the party is going too far in its attack line, that he just expressed his opinion? There may be, sort of a chill between he and the White House. It wouldn't be the first time it's been reported, but that already promising to primary the guy for departing from the president, it seems a bit much. What do you think?
Well, anyone can get into a primary. I was home in Wyoming this weekend. I hear nothing about this. What I hear from people is we have a strong, healthy, growing economy. Let's keep it going. Let's keep doing the things that the Republicans have been doing in terms of lowering taxes, letting people keep more of their hard-earned money. And the other thing I hear at home is do not take away the health insurance that I get through work, and do not put me on a one-size-fits-all health insurance plan. But I'm not hearing anything.
Congressman Amash, right?
Not a thing.
All right. You hear anything, even among your colleagues, Senator, about the president slapping down all these subpoenas for his administration officials to talk to Congress? Some are saying that it's concerning them that he could be setting up, maybe for perfectly valid reasons, a constitutional crisis. What do you think?
Well, that's not come up with my colleagues. We had a full lunch discussion on trade and the importance of what the president is doing on trade, but these other things have not come up. As far as the Senate's concerned, the investigation is complete. This is over.
All right. We just mentioned a survey that shows socialism, and the number of Americans who embrace it is surprisingly high, about 43%. Was that a surprise to you?
Well, once you talk about what socialism means, which is one-size-fits-all health insurance, people losing their Medicare Advantage, losing the health insurance they get from work when they see what happens, and you saw this in the elections in Australia the other day. People don't want to pay higher taxes and higher cost of living. They want to deal with what's going on in their own lives, and I think that the definition of socialism, once you explain what it means for people in this land of opportunity, where the government can either crush or create opportunity, and taxes and regulations, which is what socialism brings, make it a lot harder in a land of opportunity to do the kind of things we'd like to do to continue with a strong, healthy, and growing economy.
All right. Senator, very good catching up with you. Thank you very, very much.